Thank you. It's really hard when there's no time in between to switch here. All right. So yeah, we're going to talk about quitting your day job today. And my first question to you is, first of all, is that your dream? I want to know how many people in the room. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Thank you. Has anyone done it already? Awesome. Okay. Very cool. Thank you for that. We're going to talk about 10 tips for new and wannabe entrepreneurs. My first question is, how big is your dream? Do we know who this is? Yeah, Julius Caesar. So Julius Caesar, through ambition and powerful speech, he became consul, then governor in Rome. But his political ambition did not stop there. In 49 CE, he found himself in Ravenna in northern Italy. He acted like he was there, business as usual. But after sunset, then he decided his dream was bigger. He planned to cross the Rubicon. Now doing that, crossing the Rubicon, that was tantamount to treason. If you didn't have an army with you, a governor was not supposed to cross that line. Caesar, his political ambition, his dream could not be stopped. So he did exactly that. He found a guide, but then he lost his way. He lost his light. Still, he didn't give up on his dream. During the night, even though all these things went wrong, he found his way. He found shepherds, he found soldiers, he rallied them to his cause through the way that he presented his dream to them. Among those soldiers were trumpeters, so he took a trumpet, he ran to the river. With a piercing blast, he signaled his intention to cross the Rubicon. And we know what happened because that's our history. His mission, his vision was fulfilled and summed up in the 3 words that we know as Veni, Vidi, Vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. So that's my question. What's your dream? Is it big enough? And what makes it different? So I'm in marketing. I started my business in 2007. And marketing is what sets apart our businesses and often determines whether or not they're going to succeed. One of my favorite examples of poor differentiation comes from when I was doing work for an automotive tuning shop, of all places. And he said, I think for my website, I want black and red and white because everyone else who does this has black and white and red for their website. So what's your difference? Whether it's in imagery, in brand colors, in services, in offerings, what sets you apart? If you came here with a dream, I encourage you to take notes either on your phone or write them down. At the end, I'll have a link so you can get this slide deck and a worksheet that goes with it. But I want you to think about that question. What's different? What makes you different? What sets you apart? In marketing, they call this the unique selling proposition or unique value proposition. Now, it may or may not have anything to do with the product or the service that you actually offer. When you think about slogans, jingles, taglines, USPs for a lot of organizations, a lot of times it's not about the product or the service. Sometimes it's about the speed, the convenience, or something that you're hoping to do with a product or service. I think of fast food. Think of what a lot of their slogans are. Sub so fast you'll freak. It's not about the sub. What is the problem that you can fix? Maybe that's why you had the idea to start a business, was to solve a problem. How do you do that in a unique way? So thinking about that unique value that you bring can really help to propel you in the market by setting you apart from all the noise. Because we get so many messages, thousands in a day, of ads, of commercial messages, of marketing messages. And they're not going to get any better because now we're learning how to make them faster with all this technology. So how can you set yourself apart? What's your difference? A book I really like on the subject, Becoming a Category of One by Joe Calloway. It's not a new book. I read it years ago when I was just getting started. But he talks about exactly that and gives some really good examples, which I can remember. I can remember them. I'm not kidding. Probably 15 years later, I can still remember them. That's how good they are. That's the kind of service people are going to talk about, is when you have something different. So one example was an auto body shop. The auto body shop, you make an appointment. They run to your car NASCAR style. You're going to remember that. You're going to tell people about it because it's different. Another really good example was an orthodontist. And the orthodontist would send flowers when you got your braces on and when you got your braces off. You're going to remember that. You're going to tell people about it. Because, I probably shouldn't tell you this because I'm in marketing, but seriously, do you know what the best marketing is? Yeah, I heard it. Word of mouth. It is still the best. Yeah, all this tech stuff we do, all the social media, all of our blogging, our review sites, all of that extra stuff is simply an extension of word of mouth. And yes, it can make a huge impact, but at its core, it has to be something worth being talked about in the first place. It's not going to catch on if there isn't something that makes it different. So what's your difference? What will people miss if you're gone? Think about your favorite brands, your favorite organizations to work with. Now, if there was a tombstone, because that organization disappeared overnight, if there was a tombstone, what would you put on their tombstone? Would it be service? Would it be fit? What would it be that you would miss? And do you have something people would miss if you were gone? What's your difference? What's your dream? What's your difference? Discover that difference. Next is a dedication to personal sovereignty. So for my book, Flex the Freelance, I had the privilege of interviewing a number of entrepreneurs and business owners to find out why they got started. And what I found was interesting is most of them didn't start for the money. Most of them started because of the life they wanted to live. One example that comes to mind was Amy Zimmerman. Amy Zimmerman started Poppin' Z's, a successful popcorn business based right here in Wisconsin. The reason she started her business, though, is because her son was differently abled. And she recognized he was going to need a way to work. How could he contribute to society? How could he have a job with his different abilities? He needed a lot of supervision. He needed to be close to other people who understood how he would work. So she started a popcorn business. Her slogan is popcorn with a purpose, and it's good popcorn. I can't tell you how many stories like this I heard in interviewing people who started their own business. It might not have had anything to do with their greater vision. So what are we talking about when we talk about a personal sovereignty and dedicating to your personal sovereignty? What's your why? What's your reason? Why are you doing it? For me, a big part of it was my videographer here today. I started my own business because I wanted more time home with my family. So my personal sovereignty, my rules for myself as a sovereign nation included things that were important to me to create that life that I wanted. Because I was working in accounting and not happy there. I'm a writer, not an accountant. I don't know how it happened, but it did. So I was that person. Maybe you're doing this today where you're staring out the window or you're wishing you had a window in the first place, going, what the heck am I doing in accounting? What rules would you set for yourself if you were a sovereign nation? Write them down. Set those rules. And it might take some time before you can live that personal sovereignty. It did for me. It took some time. But I had ambitious goals on there. I had things like, someday I'll never go on a job interview again, because I was determined to work for myself. I had things on there like, I will not explain why I don't have a degree. When I got started, people would say, so what do you have a degree in, communication or marketing? And I would say, well, I took these classes and I did this and it. No, I don't have one. What's your personal sovereignty? What's important to you? What are you going to stick to no matter what? Also on my list, I had things like, I'm not going to lie for my boss. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we've had those moments, right? And it starts with the tell him I'm not in. Sometimes it starts with those little things. But who wants to go to a place where you have to lie for someone else? What's your personal sovereignty? Write it down and decide you're going to stick to it no matter what. Fourth, now this is hard. This is really hard for me because I'm a type A personality. I'm very controlling. But I'm going to encourage you to delegate to the experts. So I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to give you the first ones are easy, okay? The first people you need to talk to when you want to start a business: financial advisor, accountant. I wasn't a real accountant. I couldn't consult with myself on that. Financial advisor, accountant, and maybe a lawyer, depending on what you're doing, maybe a lawyer as well. So start with those, because I understand delegation is hard, and a lot of people will tell you when you're trying to start a business that you should outsource some of your tasks so you can focus on the most important things. That's really tough to do if you're controlling or if you don't have the money to do that initially. But I would say those three, start there. Delegate to the experts. And this can mean a lot of different things in a lot of different ways in your life and in your work. And you might find that you can have allies and partners who can support you without needs of extra financial gain. I'll give you an example. So when I was still working as an accountant, I was working in a manufacturing company. And the person in the office next to me was a graphic designer. Now, a graphic designer, she didn't like to write. She wasn't a good editor. I wanted to be a writer. But she was designing all the catalogs and everything. So she would bring the catalogs over to me and say, hey, could you take a look? Could you edit? Yes, I would love to edit. I would love to. I didn't see it as extra work. I didn't see it as a burden because it was something I liked to do. Delegate the things you're not good at or don't like to do to people who do. Whether it's inside an organization, of course, you maybe got to talk to HR. I don't know if you can just ask your neighbor to do your work. I don't know. But what opportunities do you have to delegate? There are people who like to do the things you hate. I have friends who own a cleaning business, and they like to clean. I know people who like to manage social media. I know people who like to edit video. If that's not on the top of your list of things you want to do, there's an opportunity to delegate. A really wise businessman told me one time, if there is a task that you can pay someone less than what your hourly wage is, you should probably be paying them. Sound advice. Fifth one, demand what you're worth. So I did my taxes just this last week. I was meeting with my accountant, and this was on her desk. Know your worth, then add tax. This is really hard. When you're first getting started, it is hard to know how much to charge. It's hard to know what that worth is financially, what it is numbers-wise. There's a lot more resources available today. You can do some research on the subject to see what people are charging for similar work. For me, I remember a lot of that was calling up people who were doing what I wanted to do and just meeting with them for a cup of coffee and asking them. And I'll never forget, I met with a woman who was charging $70 an hour, and at the time I was charging $30, and I thought, wow, I didn't even know that was a potential for the future. I mean, I knew I wasn't there yet, but I didn't even know that that was going to be an option going forward. So things to think about. If you start out with a side hustle, if you start out freelancing, you start out doing something on the side, it's a good idea to know how much it's really going to cost you so you don't hurt yourself financially either. Because sometimes we don't consider if there's startup costs, if there's overhead, involved that's going to impact what your profit is. But don't be afraid to ask for it. It takes a lot of courage sometimes to ask for what you want, not just the money, right? It can be really hard. I'm going to give you a verbal permission slip today, and I hope you take it with you. I'm going to give you permission to charge what you're worth. I'm going to grant it to you. Chances are you're probably still undervaluing yourself, but I'm going to grant you permission to charge what you're really worth. Okay, so this was some of the best advice I ever heard, is to develop a backward plan. So I had this moment, must have been 2008, 2009. Started my business in 2007, but I wasn't making any money yet. I was freelancing on the side. I was doing content writing. I was doing social media marketing, which at the time was just Facebook. I was trying to figure out, I was up at night just like racking my brain. How can I do this? How can I quit my day job? How can I make this work? And I had that moment where I was just done. I was going to hit the wall. So I did what any self-respecting 20-something would do at the time. I got up, I closed my office door, I sat back down. Mom? Yeah, I called Mom. But my mom's fantastic. I mean, I'll fight you for it. Like, she's the best mom ever. I'll fight you for it. But she's not just any mom. She's a serial entrepreneur. I was raised by serial entrepreneurs. So I said, Mom, I don't know what to do. I've been trying to get this thing going for like 2 years, and I'm not where I need to be yet to quit my day job. And I can't do it anymore. I feel like I'm losing part of myself. I'm working in accounting and I'm a writer. I've got a baby at home. This is not where I want to be. And this is what she told me. And it was the best advice. She said, get out your calendar and pick a day. It doesn't matter what day that is. You just need to pick it. She said, I cannot tell you over my years of experience how many people kept their dream as their side hustle and never jumped in with both feet and never quit their day job. Yes, of course, you need to think about your family. You have things that you need to take care of. For me, a big thing I thought about was insurance. How am I going to take care of our family that way? I could not rely solely on the other income provider in our household. It wasn't going to work. I had to make money. But she said, you have to pick a day. So I did. So I got out my calendar and I put a big X on it. I picked my day. I picked it very strategically, right after my next dental appointment while I still had dental. And then, here's the key. She said, plan it backwards. People do this thing where they stare at their dream like it's at the top of this mountain. It's so lofty and it's so far away, and they just think, oh gosh, wouldn't it be nice? I can imagine it. I can smell it. I know what it's going to feel like to give them my 2 weeks notice. Oh man, I'm going to go out with glory. But you can't imagine how to get from here to way over there. So Mom's advice was to plan it backwards. You pick that day, you put an X on it, and you ask yourself, okay, if that's the day I quit, what do I need to do the last step before that? And the last step before that? And the last step before that? And then you figure out how much time you'll really need. And that date can change, and it might change, and that's okay. But you got to pick one in the first place. So for me, those last things were, I know I got to have a cushion in the bank. I got to have a cushion. I have to have a level of freelance clients who are already active with me, who are consistent. So I put those numbers down, I figured out that plan, and I thought, okay, if I have to have this much, in order to save up this much, that means I'm going to tighten up my budget. That means I need to take on some client meetings. To take on some client meetings, I need to look to see what kind of groups I can network with. If I network with these different groups, I need to attend different vets to meet different people. If I meet different people, then I can have appointments with them, and hopefully they'll want to hire me, and filled in all the tasks. And then carry out the tasks. And again, sometimes the date might change and we might have to move things off. Sometimes there are unforeseen circumstances. But developing a backward plan allowed me to stop thinking just emotionally and to stop thinking about just this daydream, this abstract thing way off in the distance, and to plan it in a concrete way, in a logical way. And really, this works with any big goal. I've used the same technique when trying to run a long-distance race, when trying to publish a book, and those dates change. Do they change? Because a lot of projects take longer than we think. But if your dream is to do this, you got to pick a day. If you want to commit, I'm going to encourage you to put that date on your calendar, to put that date in your notes. 7 is discerning your priorities. So we talked about a few aspects of this already, but I love this image here because just because we can wear a lot of hats doesn't mean we should. And because for so long, so many of us have spent our lives, our professional lives, and even sometimes our personal lives dictated by what other people thought our priorities should be. Really good book on the subject, Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. That one really helped me to remind myself of why I started, why I got going on my own in the first place, to refocus your priorities. And I think anytime you're going through a big change, it's a good time to ask yourself those questions, the personal sovereignty questions, the why am I doing this questions, what are my priorities, what is most important for me? I was talking with a gentleman earlier today about how some people have this idea of a business they want to run, but then sometimes they end up not doing the thing that they loved. So I told you my parents are serial entrepreneurs. Not all of their businesses worked. Not all of them succeeded. And I definitely learned a lot from those too. So my dad's a really good cook. Really good. He loved to feed people. Loved it. Doesn't matter who you were. If it was time to eat, you were getting invited for dinner. And you were going to eat good. Didn't mean that he could run a restaurant. I know that because he tried. So if you like cooking, are you going to like running a business? If you enjoy the technical aspect of your job, there's a lot of other stuff that comes with running the business. So what hats do you want to wear? Can you outsource or delegate some of the other hats? Things to think about when you're planning this thought of, do I really want to quit my day job? There are certainly parts that aren't easy, as I'm reminded when I met with my accountant this last week, self-employment tax. Number 8 here is devote to time management. Yeah, we're good on time management. It's really hard. So for me, one of the big struggles I have is what I call productive procrastination, where you're still being busy, but it's not actually accomplishing the most important things on your list. Michael Hyatt's book, Free to Focus, is good for that reminder as well. So how do you get it all done? Well, I can only share with you what has worked for me and what has been effective in my life. But for me, planning is really, really important. It has to be on my calendar if it's going to happen. It's not going to happen if I don't write it down. My poor husband and my poor son, they hear that all the time. It's not on the calendar. It's not on the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, I can't handle it. I outsource that part of my brain. So that's one less thing to remember. I could never remember all of the appointments, all of the tasks. And I put tasks on there too, not just appointments. That's my structure. That helps me. And the focus. What I like to do to make sure I get those priorities, do you remember that old expression, eat the frog? There's a book, Eat the Frog. Yeah, do the hard stuff first. I get a little Post-it note, and I put like my 3 top things for the day. put it right under my monitor, and I try really, really hard to make myself do those things. And yeah, I still get distracted by email and stuff sometimes. That happens. But what could we accomplish if we quit the productive procrastination? And how many of our tasks can be automated? A lot of them. I'm learning so many things here today about new technology and ways to automate tasks. I'm really excited to see what's next. I think about when I first got started in designing graphics for marketing purposes, and I was doing them in Photoshop and making the layers, to me going in Canva and saying, remove background. Make it easier. I taught any class I could teach for a while, trying to get a little extra income, and I found myself actually teaching the Microsoft suite, including Excel. But one of the best lessons from Excel is if you think, I would tell people this, if you think there must be a better way, there is. There is a better way. I'll never forget, I had one woman come into my class and I said, bring your spreadsheets, bring stuff you're working on, and we're going to fix your problems. We're going to make it easier for you. And she brings in a spreadsheet and she shows me how she's manually retyping 600 lines of data because it's not formatted in the right way for her to upload it into her software. All she needed was the formula to edit that data so she could upload it. So I want you to think about that, this time management piece. One thing that really helps when we're struggling with money, we set a budget. If we're struggling with time, set a time budget. The first step in setting a budget is knowing how much you're spending in the first place. The first step in our time management is knowing how you're spending your time in the first place. Keep track. Keep track of your time. Keep track of what you're doing. How much time do you spend on social media? How much do you spend watching TV? How much do you spend watching TV while scrolling on social media? Yeah, we all do it. But if you want that big dream, it might mean some sacrifice of some other things. How can you focus on what you really want? How can you automate to make more time for the important things? Are there tasks that you can outsource or delegate? Are there things you can eliminate? We all have to-do lists. Do you have a not to-do list? I've made them. There are some things I've just conceded that I'm not good at and I'm not going to do and I don't enjoy them. I hate to sew, so that's on my not to-do list. I am not going to do it. I'm not good at it. I'm also not going to iron. No collars. Like I don't own any shirts I have to iron because I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to give you another permission slip today. Here's your second one, your second verbal permission slip, is I'm going to give you permission not to do something on your to-do list. If it's not important, you're not passionate about it, and you're not good at it, you probably shouldn't be doing it. If it's still important, keep it there. Dealing with stress. I was really excited. There's a whole section, I didn't even realize that there's a whole section here just talking about the stress. And a lot of you have very stressful jobs, I'm learning. How do we manage that? Because if you're doing that and trying to get your side hustle going, you're going to have even more stress. So you're going to need to find a way to deal with that stress, to manage your stress. 3 big ways to do that is you have to make time to play. Our play is what leads us to be more innovative. So play is crucial. Do not cut play out of your life. What I encourage you to do is see how you can include the people who are important to you in your playtime, in your exercise, and in your time for reflection. Play is really important. The second one is exercise. None of us have time to exercise. We all need to exercise. Let's just put that out there. It's hard. It's hard. I get it. It's really hard. But it has been proven that those who make time to exercise make better time management skills with the rest of their life. Take time to reflect. I'm going to encourage all of you to make sure that you get some time. I know it was really crummy weather yesterday and today, but I'm going to encourage you to get some time outside when it's nice. You spend 4 days out in nature, and it's like a complete reset. of your brain. It improves your problem-solving skills, your mood, and your outlook on life. So make sure that you take some time away from the screens too. It's really hard in that initial startup time, especially if you're working a job and trying to get your side hustle going. You're going to be on screens way too much. Way too much. So give yourself some breaks. Deal with your stress effectively, or you won't be able to manage your personal or your professional life. I've got one more tip for you, but I wanted to share this with you, and I'm not sure if that QR code will work out. We can grab it after. To get the worksheet that goes with this, you can grab that QR code or visit. It is talk.ac/Terra L Fletcher, and the code is Cypher. So I don't need to explain to you how it works. We're very techie savvy in this room. But what this helps me do is it helps to improve me. I really enjoy coming to speak to groups like this. The main reason that I got to come today was a kind of a funny story with what happened with Michael and I. You'll have to ask me. I'll have to tell you later. I'm not going to tell it on the microphone, but it's funny. It was because I wanted that 15-year-old to come. I wanted him to be here to get this opportunity to come and learn. So I was happy to give of my time, and this is something, if you found any value in the presentation today, that way that you can show that appreciation to me is by giving a little bit of feedback. It really would mean a lot. So here's the 10th one. Dare. I dare you to quit your day job. So why do I have a wrecked minivan up there? So this isn't so much a story about quitting my day job as it is about writing my first book. But they're similar pursuits. They're similar, lofty, hard to see, way up on the mountain. I was driving down Highway 29, snowy conditions, and I hit a semi. My book was done. It was on my computer. It was done, but I never shared it with anyone. I'm very fortunate that I wasn't seriously hurt, but I realized something could have happened to me, and I never shared what I had. So if you have something that you're waiting to share, please don't take that lesson the hard way. Do it while you still have a chance. Here's my last admonition for you. How big do you think an oak tree can grow if it's in a 2-foot pot? I don't know if it's like a goldfish. They say they only get so big depending on their bowl. But can it reach its potential? Can you reach your potential if you don't quit your day job? Or could you be that oak tree, 60 feet high and 150 feet wide? We had a lot to consider today, but I want to encourage you, I want to dare you to dream big and to quit your day job. Thank you.